in those big moments, you fall back on your training. The big lights reveal kind of the work that is done in the dark. It's not like, oh, we're just going to rise up to this moment. It's like we have to train for these moments. This made coaching easier for me. It made coaching more efficient for me. It made practices more focused. When we spend 3 minutes before practice doing this like silly little visualization to focus them, and now I'm not spending 20 minutes trying to get them to focus in practice, it has saved me time. It's made coaching easier. I teamed up with my sister-in-law, who also has a background in athletics. We founded our company, The Elite Competitor. But we can go into kind of what that looks like now as well. But that's really where the gaps were and what I started to see. Like these girls need more than just physical skills.
Again, I love hearing the stories of how Genesis stories of how things develop. It sounds very organic. And talking as a coach, you've had some pretty good success at the state level too. You want to brag a little bit on that?
Yeah, gosh. Well, yeah, we've won four back state championships. So yeah, we're on a little bit of a run here. So that's been really exciting. And obviously, I've got talented kids that come into our program, but also I've had talent, I would say to the coaches listening, so do you. You have talent in your program. It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of can that talent perform when the pressure is on? And I've had talent and we've had great teams, like I said, that have penciled into like we're seated, we're projected to go really far into the postseason, and then we can't get past the like get to state game because we fall apart mentally. Yeah, there's some great stories, especially this past state championship, and they haven't been easy. So I hope you're not thinking, sometimes you get to this point where it's like, okay, we won our first state championship, and it was like unbelievable, and people were just like so ecstatic, incredible, just cheering us on the whole way. Then we won our second, and people are like, "Oh, that's so cool." Won our third, and they're like, "Okay, we're tired of hearing about Columbia River. Like, can it be somebody else?" And oh, she just has talented girls. We won our fourth this past fall, and it was totally unexpected too. It was a complete like wiped out our senior class. We're like, "Hey, we're just happy to be here." And some of the way in which we won this past season, I like it is just highlights the mental game. We were down championship point to a team that hadn't won state in 36 years. They were physically better than us on paper. Like you look at their front row, 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". She's going to Gonzaga. She's going to Oregon. There's senior stacked. We have one returning senior. I've got sophomores out there. We're just doing the best we can. And I was like, this is just cool that we're here. But, their fans are on their feet. They're like, we serve this point in, we get this point, we are banners going up, 36 years. And I remember calling back-to-back timeouts because they had match point for two points. And I just tell them like, hey, we're going to go back to our snapback routine, which we had trained the whole season, which is a breath. It's a reset word. It's kind of a way for athletes to stay grounded in the present moment when the moment is big. And the thing is, they didn't just learn this in the state championship game. We literally have been practicing this every single day for 12 weeks. And so we're like, that's what we're going to do. We're going to receive this ball. We're going to set her outside. We're going to side out right here. We'll take care of it from there. We did just that in that timeout. And so now we have 2 points. We got 2 points to stay alive because you got to win by 2. And my sophomore goes back to serve. And I'm like, I love this for us. She's never been on varsity, never played in a state tournament. We'll see what happens. She looks pretty confident. She goes out, she serves. The other team, they set their best hitter, which I would too. She goes up. We're like, okay, here we go. We're done. She hits the ball out of bounds. We're like, oh, okay. That hasn't happened very much this game, but the pressure is getting to her a little bit. So sophomore is back to serve. Now we have set point. She serves the ball, serves tough. Their setter kind of botches the play on the other side, which I also was like, what is happening? And then their best player free balls the ball into the net, like an unforced error that's very uncommon at this level, especially in a state championship match. So we win that set to go. Like we thought we had just won state. People were so excited. And then we get into the fifth set and the other team, they were just crumbling. Mentally, you could see the difference. It was like just, and at that point, like we had already taken it. Momentum had shifted. We stayed calm in that moment. We were able to win. Won 4 state championships. Again, we were the underdogs. We were not seeded the whole year. No one ever put us on the map to be number one. And so it just kind of highlighted like what in those big moments, you fall back on your training. The big lights reveal kind of the work that is done in the dark. It's not like, oh, we're just going to rise up to this moment. It's like we have to train for these moments. So anyways, kind of a tangent, but
No,
a
not
cool
at
way that I
all.
got.
And I love how you kind of led with this was something that we'd been working on the entire season. It wasn't just a magic trick you pulled out of your coach's toolbox. And you reemphasize that with you fall back on your training. Great foundational information for coaches and ADs. You mentioned that you started the elite competitor with your sister-in-law. She has her own, athletic, resume. Um, how did it take shape? How did it get going? How did the elite competitor, um, what's its origin story? And then
Mhm.
I want you to share some of the resources that our listeners can reach out to you and add to their toolbox.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, And I want to be clear, like mental training is not a replacement for physical training. Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, we just like, no, we got to have hand in hand. But what was funny about that game, and I'll get it to kind of how Elite Competitor started, was my sophomore was interviewed afterwards. And the interviewer asked her, they were like, so what were you thinking? Like you're serving for game point, coming back to state. And she goes, honestly, I was just doing my breath and I was doing my reset word. I was doing my breath and my reset word. And I'm like, there it is. Snapback routine right there. So she was listening. But yeah, the elite competitor, I kind of already talked about how I started implementing some of these things and was seeing some results. I've always been a little, even though I'm a teacher, I was a teacher, I've always been entrepreneurial. I kind of like, I love new ideas, creating new things. And so I was like, I think we can bring this to more athletes. So we created an online program called the Elite Mental Game. That's what we're most known for. And this was back in 2019. And so we were like, let's serve more athletes with this. So we did, we put it online. We created this program that athletes could go through. We started serving their parents. We really are, our message is for parents and how parents can support the mental game of their athletes. So the program that we have is for athletes, but there's a parent component on what they can do and say to not screw up their kid's sports journey and, instill confidence. So that continued to grow. We've had to date over 7,000 families come through that program. And all the while, we've attracted coaches in our audience because I'm a coach and coaches are interested. They're like, how do I get this for my team? And so we were like, we have a version of our program for coaches, but just this year, actually, we decided to make a full split and created another arm to our company that directly serves coaches. So now we have a side of our company that is fully for how coaches can implement mental training with their teams. The program for that is called Plug and Play Elite Mental Game for Teams. So I just take everything that I do with my team in a plug and play format, really best suited for high school coaches who, like me, I'm in the middle of my season right now. So get their teams together for about 20 minutes a week or less. They play a short video for their team. They have a little discussion question that's very simple. Their team connects, answers the question, and then they have a skill to go out into practice. So they learn the snapback routine, they learn a daily mindset routine, they learn visualization, breath work, all the things. And it's a way that coaches don't have to become a sports psychologist. Like I went the hard way. Like I went back, I became a mental performance coach, I tested all of this. I learned the back end of like, okay, and my background in education also, positions me to be able to, create this curriculum so that it leads to results. And so I did all that work for coaches. So all they have to do is show up and press play because, we have got a lot going on. So I actually left teaching in 2021 to run our company full time. So that's what we've been doing, just growing, continuing to grow, continuing to impact thousands and thousands of athletes in programs. So yeah, that's kind of where we started and where we are now in a short version.
We've had a number of mental performance professionals on the podcast in the last
Mhm.
5 years, and I always say that a similar line that I don't think there's a coach in America in any sport that is going to say that mental performance training isn't valuable. It's
Yeah.
they understand it's valuable. The trick is to convince them to give up that 20 minutes, 30 minutes of practice time
Yeah.
to focus on it. And there's so many still that don't do it. So now you're speaking directly to those coaches. Maybe it's a cranky old retired AD in Florida.
Mhm.
You know, uh, how how do you convince them to, hey, this is going to help your kids, it's going to help your team, it's going to help you as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, I would say to that, okay, a couple of things. First of all, I am a coach. And
Right.
a lot of times, when I would go to like teacher conferences, coaches conference, and we would have an expert come in and talk. And I'm like, when was the last time you were in the classroom? When was the last time you were actually in front of 48 girls in your gym and having to manage time and manage rosters and all of this? And they're like, oh yeah, it's been a while, or never. And so I will first say to that coach, I am in coaching with you, literally right alongside you. The other thing is sometimes we don't take action unless there is some pain. And that was for me as a coach. It was painful to watch my team crumble in these situations. And it takes a lot of humility to look at what's the reason for that? Because a lot of coaches will blame their players and they'll just say they couldn't do it. Or this person, messed up or this and that. And that's what I did the first year. I was like, yeah, it was kind of players. So I did everything I could. And when it happened again, I was like, I have to look at myself as a coach. This is too painful to be that close and not be able to finish because of mental errors. And so, if there's a coach in that boat that's like, yeah, we keep losing because of mental errors, or, I feel like I'm doing everything that I can. Well, what part of the game are you not teaching? Where is the gap? The other part of it is that you already are spending the time. You are already spending the time probably trying to convince your athletes that they are good enough. You're spending time on the sideline trying to get their heads back in the game. You got to pull your best player out and like try and work on the emotional side while you putting your sophomore in who you're like, I am not that deep. I do not want her in right now. I need you in. I need you to be mentally ready. And you're just like trying to pull out all the tricks. So this made coaching easier for me. It made coaching more efficient for me. It made practices more focused. When we spend 3 minutes before practice doing this like silly little visualization to focus them, and now I'm not spending 20 minutes trying to get them to focus in practice, I'm getting practice time back. Now, when I'm on the sideline and I can call a timeout and I say, okay, we're all going to do our snapback routine right now. And they know what I'm talking about. I don't have to figure out like, different things for every person or be like, why is this person crying right now? It's like we have a common language. And so it has saved me time. It's made coaching easier. So that is what I would say. And yeah, you do have to, but like as a high school coach, and that's why I say like a lot of this is best suited for high school coaches. Here's kind of how I just on a very practical level. In the startup of our season, I build in more like we practice on a Saturday. We practice 2 Saturdays within the first 2 weeks. We practice 6 days a week. So I build in time on a Saturday to kind of front load some of this stuff. So as my season is starting, I will take 20 minutes when we do, we just add in a little bit more time. My team has 2 hour early releases on Mondays. Okay. And not every school has that, but I would say, I mean, I've been in education for 15 years and every school that I've taught at or coached at, we have some sort of 1 hour early release, 2 hour early release. And my girls are going off to Dutch Brothers to get coffee. And I'm like, no, let's spend 20 minutes of that 2 hours, like meet with your teachers, get everything under control. But we're going to spend 20 minutes of that 2 hours and we're going to train the mental game. They look forward to it. We call it Mindset Mondays. They like the breakup in the routine. So I think also a lot of times as coaches, it's us that gets in the way. We are like, I don't really know how to do it. And so I don't want to look dumb. I don't know what I'm supposed to teach. I've never done this before. A visualization, how am I supposed to do that? And so that's why we have plug and play. That's why we have resources where you literally don't have to do anything except for press play. And then you lead a little discussion, which doubles as some team bonding for your team because we know when they know each other, they trust each other, like, and it transfers to the court. So those are the angles that I work when it comes to that because, I've been in it and I still am.
I want to go back to something that you shared earlier, that mental performance training is not a substitute for the physical training that occurs in
Absolutely.
practice, but it can be, as you just articulated, find out more, take advantage of all the resources that you have at the elite competitor. How do they do that?
Yeah, the best place to go is to just check out our free training for coaches. That's where we break down like really simple skills that you can teach your athletes. And also you'll learn about plug and play and get a little pricing discount as well if you want to incorporate that into your team. Or if you're an AD and you want to do it department wide, we sell it as seats in your program. So that's at coachfreetraining.com. So that's a really easy way. That'll also get you on our email list and just get you in the loop with everything that we're doing. So Coach Free Training. I'm also on Instagram. I'm on TikTok at Coach Bree. So I'm all over there. If you're a parent listening, I know we do have some parents. Our Instagram Elite Competitor Coach is kind of where we have grown our biggest platform. So if you are a parent that you're like, yeah, I want this for my daughter, then you can find that over there.
Okay. Again, and we'll put all that information in the show notes for the podcast. Bree, thanks again for taking time out of your busy schedule to share with our listeners. All the best, even though you're at Columbia River High School as a battleground graduate. That was our big
I
rival
know.
back in the day.
Oh, it was?
They probably don't even play each other anymore. But
No, that Battlegrounds 4A, and yeah, we're not even in the same classification anymore.
right. But anyway, no,
Yeah.
just great story. Love hearing your story as an athlete, as a coach, and now, giving back as you continue to coach at a high level. I'm going to say it again, 4 consecutive state championships. Pretty good resume. Um,
Yeah.
Thanks again for coming on. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time.